Welcome, everybody, to the live roundtable recording, April 6th of They Cast from the Coast. My name is Adam Miles, and I'm joined, as always, by Tim Johnson and Josh Lambert. With a special guest star tonight, we have with us Mr. AARON Peerless from Phantom Effects. Hey!
Boogie boogie.
Boogie boogie.
Boogie boogie.
All right. Josh, I'm just going to fucking mute you from now on. You're just fucking
Right. None.
Say hi to everybody, Aaron.
Hey. Is that all right? Or? I already said boogie boogie. Come on.
Jeez. Nice. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. So tonight's a very special episode. It's obviously our live roundtable for Monday evening, and we asked Aaron to join on because, as I've talked about before, I'm Aaron's shop bitch apprentice. I'm the Padawan, the low level learner at the Phantom Effects group, and we love Aaron to death. So we said, bring him on.
I wouldn't go as far as to say shop bitch. Maybe a little less than.
Adam just showed up one day.
I like facts. Actually, no. You're an inaugural part of the. You're a permanent marker in the studio now. And you're doing well. I must say, you're doing well.
Well, thank you.
Well,
thank you.
Don't make it head too big now.
I'm not.
The light.
Well, like.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. So,
Well,
excellent. So, as people would assume, Phantom Effects Group, the owner and operator, Mr. AARON Peerless, massive horror fanatic, obviously, and has worked on many, many movies. So, we thought we'd bring him on to not only talk about tonight's, topics with us, but AARON, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and about Phantom Effects.
Where should I start? Well, you know what? Initially, when I got started in this stuff, I wasn't going to. I was actually attending a private school, to be quite honest, out in Vancouver, and it was called White Rock Christian Academy. And basically, you weren't allowed to do a lot of things, but as soon as I got the opportunity to leave there, my parents decided to move over here to Nova Scotia and run a bed and breakfast. So I was all for it because I didn't want to have anything to do with that school anymore. It almost felt like you were being brought up in a biodome, where the real world was out there, but you don't know about it. You're not being, you get out of this biodome and you're like, what the hell is all this fucking shit? Why are people treating me like this? This is weird. So long story short is we moved here to Nova Scotia in '93. Finished off my high schooling at a public high school, thank goodness. And then I decided to go to effects school in Toronto in 1997, and it was called Illusions Unlimited Incorporated. And the teacher's name was Randy Dodlin. And it was pretty fantastic. When I first arrived, he had me down for a weekend to see if I had any skill. He didn't want me to spend a lot of money, or my parents at that time, spend a lot of money on something that if I just was terrible, just fucking sucked at it. And he's like, no, I don't want you to spend that amount of money. So I went out and I sculpted my first. Never sculpted before, but I sat and sculpted my first alien that day, or over the weekend. And by the end of the weekend, he had said to me, you know what, you got some talent here. And I was picking up everything that he was throwing at me for doing wrinkling and things like that. And I was taking what he was showing me instantly and putting it into my sculpt, so he could see that I was very adaptable. So I ended up coming back home, and then I flew out again. I think it was a month later after I got myself all squared away, and I did like a 6-month effects course. Of course, everything that I've learned back then is all new now, pretty much these days. It's like riding a bike, I guess, for a lot of it. but all the new materials and everything that are trying to make the effects, the SPFX industry easier is it's definitely making things easier, but in other ways, it's making it quite a bit more difficult, especially with 4K and of course 8K coming out and all that crap. So yeah. So that's basically the rundown. 6 months in FX school, and then came back over here. Wanted to refine my craft a little bit. Didn't have the confidence to jump right into something after school. I felt like I wanted to practice and not make an ass of myself. which I don't think could have happened because some of the shows that I got on maybe 2 years later had absolutely no clue what was going on and how to do anything. So and Lex was one of them. But I managed to. After a couple of years, got a couple phone calls, and I wasn't going to say no. One was a B movie called Phase 4, and Dean Cain and Brian Bosworth and Amy Kuzik in it. I actually got the key second unit, makeup for all that, and I did a bunch of stuff on the first unit as well. My teacher actually decided to come down to hang out on the set of that movie and kind of help out where he could. But I got that finished. We did Lex, science fiction there.
Cool.
A big mummy on that. One of the last seasons, season 4, called Viva Lex Vegas. We got to create this mummy. They were going to stick plasticine on this actor's face from Europe, and glue it on. And I just kind of looked at the director and was like, "What?" And I'm 21 at the time, right? And I'm like, "What are you going to do? Glue plasticine on somebody's face?" All right, man. Well, that's not how would you do it. Well, how would you do it, Mr. Peerless? Is how he went about it, right? So I just explained it to him, and of course it went right over his head. And they wanted something within 24 hours. To beeline it back down. So I did. I beelined it back down with a prosthetic that I'd sculpted and molded. And it was just one because we were so tight for time. But at least we had the one that turned out, and we went down and applied it. By the end of that day, I was being hugged by the director. So pretty stoked over that. Pretty good little thing. So anyway, we got onto that show for about 3 weeks of making the mummy every day, and it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best by any means. But I look back at it now, and I still think it looked a lot better than just gluing some plasticine on somebody's face. That's basically the rundown of it. We've done quite a few other short films. Just recently, we got to work on Books of Blood. Get to do lots of silicone prosthetics and things and that, and Hollywood production. So it was pretty cool. Being on the set of.
So what happened to all those prosthetics? After the show wraps, where do those end up?
Garbage. If you can believe it. I'm not even shitting you, man. It's like garbage. Some of the big body pieces we were applying to one of the actors in that film. Literally you're tearing it and it's pulling apart, and you're just pulling it off, removing it slowly, pulling the pieces off and throwing them in the garbage, right? See, they've got encapsulated silicones, right? That you gotta so you can burn the edges off nicely and have a very nice blend. And as soon as it starts to come apart, then you're pretty much shit out of luck. So it's just gonna be thrown away, which is a shame, right? But those silicone pieces, they get pretty heavy. Yeah. Especially if you're doing a full. Yeah.
They absolutely do. Yeah. I mean, you've done so many, phenomenal things with movies and short films and everything else, but there's something else that's very dear to your heart that you do every year. You might want to tell everybody about that.
Well, I know one of you have been there. I don't know if the other two have, but the Freak Show Haunted House we put together every year is hugely successful. We started it this year if it goes on because of this damn virus. This year marked the 19th haunted house that I've done, and we're gearing up for it now. We have the keys to the new location. Yes, there is a new location this year for the Freak Show. But we're packed at the Freak Show almost to the point where we can't accept people every night that we're open. So we're adjusting our hours this year, trying to accommodate everybody on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evening. Right.
So that's awesome. That's awesome.
We're a true haunted house, by the way, too, where we have never wandered from the quality. We don't care about the amount of people that come through. We care more about the quality of the haunt. So if you're coming there with a friend of yours, that's all that's going through at a time. It's two, maximum three people that go through at a time. And if you just read the reviews on Facebook and things, the Phantom's Freak Show Haunted House, you'll see what I'm talking about. I think we had one bad review, and it was because somebody was pissed off at us that we gave them a panic attack, and they decided that they wanted to give us a bad review because we didn't do enough to get that person out, which we did. A bottle of water, even, if you can believe that, and escorted the person out. But on average, we have about 57 people that wet themselves, piss themselves, and that's visual. That's what our crew sees. Who knows what happens? You know what we don't see. This past year, I think we had 15 all-out panic attacks. I mean, just collapse to the floor, that kind of thing.
Fetal position.
Right? Yeah. I think we had 5 shitters this year. Too. Yeah. So it's lovely. It's lovely until you got to clean some of that crap up. Literally.
I've had to do that.
Yeah.
It's usually in the back area where we are. This year it was a very awesome, very heavy metal area that we had, and people were coming through.
That's what it was.
Yeah, and people were coming through. And we had a guy playing guitar, and people were like looking at the guitar player, and they didn't see the person crawling right up in front of their face, and you could just, as they were walking by, you could just smell the shit. And then there was stuff on the ground. And it's like, this is not good.
Our haunted houses are not tame by any means. A lot of kids like to try and make it through. A lot of them don't. But we do have a few that do make it. And when they do, they usually come around front and they're like, "Thanks a lot for that." Or everybody likes to ask me, "What's the age range for this? Should this person come in?" I basically just tell them, "Listen, I can't. Has your kid ever watched a horror flick? Yeah, well, they're okay with it. All right, well, they might make it through, right? It's so hard.
What level of horror are we talking here? We got blood and guts, people grabbing you, chasing you.
We got full air props. We have blood and guts. We have a meat grinder set up last year with pieces and blood everywhere, and we have air cannons. We have all air props that are hooked up, and we're talking pro air props that can see hundreds of thousands of times it can come, and not phase it one hit, right? We do use a couple of Ed Edmonds stuff, a couple things we've ordered from him, like a rocking grandma with a dead baby and that kind of thing, right? That usually gets people's minds just going. We're a big psychological haunt, right? And if what you don't realize is when you're standing in line and things, we're already getting into your head and you don't realize it, right? So we've definitely we branded ourselves on that, and still nobody's picking up on it. If there's anybody watching, even the sounds that you hear outside, scream way in the background, everything is kind of planned. This is what we do, right? And I think that's why the haunt's so successful. They really do. Plus the fact that we do it for the IWK. I can't leave that out. Right? We're in support of the IWK for that. So I think last year we were able to give just over $11,000. Gauze. Yeah. We do keep a bit for ourselves to keep our doors open, and to add to our props for the following year. That's how you build something, right? Like that, right? You got to get bigger. And better, right? Because there's always other people that are giving you that competition.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so more information on that will be up at the Phantom's Freak Show. Check that out on Facebook, and check out Phantom Effects on Facebook as well, and you'll be able to see all the updates as we get ready for the year. Hopefully it happens this year. If not, that just means that we're going to go even bigger next year.
my gosh. A year and a half. Building the freak show. Usually we put that thing together in 2 months. So look out. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's great. If anybody has any questions for Aaron, feel free to drop them in the chat, and or send us a message, or drop it into the Cast from the Coast discussion page at one point, and we'll make sure that Aaron sees it, and we'll get responding, Aaron.
Yeah.
Excellent.
What's the coolest makeup you feel that you've done to date so far?
So I had the pleasure of when Work to Rule was going on. There's a couple. There's a couple which I can't really speak on right now from Books of Blood. That were really fucking cool. But there was a couple short films that we did that involved a couple demons, and we built the demons from the ground up. Like ground up, we had the cowl, we had prosthetic pieces, huge horns coming off of them. And we did these for short films, but we want people to see what we're capable of. So we go a little extra. We go the extra mile, I guess. And that in turn has been giving us more business when it comes to small companies seeing that maybe we can afford that. Let's give these guys a call, right? Because so many people are when they're into effects, it does cost quite a bit of cash. But if I'm not busy at the time and I want to build something just to keep myself busy, then I'll do something for just over the price of what cost is. Or if I buy like a gallon kit, maybe I'll get like a 2 gallon kit and make the production pay for it, and that'll be my pay basically for that kind of thing. We enjoy that stuff, and we want to see the film industry really kind of flourish here in Nova Scotia because of the restraints that have been given to us over the last few years, right? So it's been fairly difficult with all that. We've had to kind of adapt to things. My lady, she does the live body art at the studio as well to kind of keep our doors open. And that's been really busy, actually. Yeah. So yeah.
Glad to see the film industry starting to come back in Nova Scotia, because it was about 4 years ago there. It was pretty much destroyed.
Yeah.
It's starting to come back now.
It is definitely. There's more and more they're seeing that the film industry does bring in quite a bit of cash. I don't understand how they didn't realize that it does bring in a major amount. The whole crew basically that I was working with Books of Blood, they were all American and Canadian, and they were all up here spending money like you wouldn't believe, right? Going downtown Halifax on a day off and buying $800 jackets, it's nuts for them not to think that revenue is not staying here. That's a bunch of bullshit, right? It needs to climb out of it a little bit more. But I think you're right. I think it is coming around a bit.
Yeah.
And there's also that huge stupid misconception that it's the government just giving money.
It's a tax break, right? So a tax break on a major film can add up to a lot of cash, right? That they get back. And I think that's one reason why the production team from Books of Blood decided to shoot here, is because they're starting to open up that tax break that they're giving film and TV now, right? And they saw that it was in the shitter, man. It was in the shitter. And I'm not quite sure what's been going on to change that right now. I haven't really been, zoomed in on that. I've had other things going on, but I do know that you are right. Things are starting to happen, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like I remember when they were filming Call Me Fitz in New Minas, and just the sheer amount of people that were in here from production that are now shopping in this little town was insane.
And that just goes to show that, when people are being paid and they're staying in a location, they're going to spend money here. They're going to. Yeah. It is anywhere they are, they're going to spend money, right? So the film industry, I believe, brings in a ton of stuff, right? I mean, whether it's a film that needs something like a big boom or whatever, they'll get the boom in, right? And then they'll sell it, locally or whatever, just to get rid of it. Or, a lot of times those things are rented and things. But I'm just saying that, whites might get a bunch of gear in, and now they've got this gear that we've never had before in Halifax. Now we can use this big boom on this film, on this short film, or you know what I mean? Like, so.
And that's not even counting the fact that if the movie is a fucking hit, then you've created tourism.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You're obviously a pretty a talented sculptor, but one of our folks has actually got some pretty cool projects too. Tim, you want to show them the Necronomicon you sculpted?
Yeah. So
I want to see this.
I can't even do it.
Bastards.
I'm sorry, Adam. I'm sorry,
Adam,
buddy.
did you get your ideas from Tim?
No.
Yeah.
No. I dreamt them up myself at one point. Fuck.
That was really good, Josh.
Good job.
Oh,
Good job,
man. It's always shit on Adam. Right?
So what is, in your opinion, the coolest makeup you've seen in a film?
Ooh.
Like the one makeup that you could, like, you'd be sitting home watching it, you'd be like, fuck, that's awesome.
Wow.
That's a big one to drop on a fella.
It just came to me right now.
You know what, man? There's so many. I'm a big fan of Legend, right? The Demon of Legend. That thing was fantastic, but there's so fucking many. Jeepers.
Some top fivers.
Well, I think one that stands out to me that I really like, and I keep going back to the Star Wars thing when it comes to this. So Star Wars comes out, hardly any CG in it whatsoever. It's absolutely magical, and it's magical because they built absolutely everything in that, right? So a movie that came out not a long time ago, but I guess it's getting on now, would be Hellboy, like the original Hellboy, right? When you're looking at that, look at all the characters that have actually got makeup on them, right? So I think I'm going to stick, one of them has got to be Hellboy, for sure. If you're looking at the makeup, around the eyes, you're looking around the mouth, just how flawless it is. And, with Abe, with his gills moving, and, Pan's Labyrinth is another one, right? That's got just beautiful, beautiful makeups in it, right? I'm just a fan of it all. I love it all. And I'm even, when I see a killer show, I'm just like, how did they do that? Right. And when you break it down, when you pause it and you look at it, you can kind of see, how they've done it. But I'm telling you, another movie that really is creeping into my head here right now is The Cell. Right. And that I don't think people, they had to make those bodysuits that they hung from, and when they went into the mind, it was more of a psychological thing, but there was still some pretty cool makeups, in some of those scenes where you have the dolls, and the windows are opening up and the dolls riding the bike, and that's pretty cool too, right? So I don't know, I could probably sit here and think about Davers, man. I could think about just a ton. Right?
Sorry.
Hellraiser for its day, right? I mean, look at Hellraiser in that makeup. That was just wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garbage as those movies are, some of them, the makeup effects are awesome.
They nailed it with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
Yeah. No, now
Good
you're gonna
call on Hellboy, because you're absolutely right. But that's just Guillermo del Toro usually likes using practical over CG anyway.
That's why I love it today.
Yeah.
Underworld, the original Underworld is really good as well, because they had to build those lichens, right? And in some scenes when they're crawling up the walls and things like that, they had to use CG for some of that. But in a lot of that movie, they used the actual creatures that they built, and they look phenomenal. And it just, to me, it doesn't have that weird CG glow. It's not so smooth. That wrecks it for me. I watch a movie and I'm like, I haven't even watched any of the, any of the DC Comics movies or anything like that, just because I'm like, oh, look at all the CG that's involved in this, right? Now, in saying that, I'm not shitting on the CG guys or the VFX guys, because they're awesome, and they save us makeup people in a lot of ways. If you get a certain light going on and you can see an edge in your prosthetic or whatever, all you do is you go over and say, dude, can you mark that down and just get rid of that? Yep, no problem. Right. So it's just now, I think, or it's been happening over the last couple of years, where VFX and SPFX are kind of coming together to. Yeah. I mean, we have to, right?
Well, because initially it would have been they're gunning for my job kind of situation, right? They're going to make me obsolete.
That's what I mean. I mean, 8K coming out, you'd be able to pick out a bot fly under the skin, right? Like, fuck.
Well, I mean, that's where it should be going anyway. Because I mean, there's certain things that CG can do that practical can't.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain things that practical can do that CG can't. So I think it only makes sense having them both, kind of meld. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing creature makeup. Yes, get the actual creature there, but it doesn't blink right. CG it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
CG is kind of like the garbage man. He's the cleanup crew. He comes in and fix up the mess that the practical effects might have left behind.
Right. But when you look back at all the movies that we love, including like even Goonies and all that stuff, right? Like, where's all the CG in that? There isn't. And look at how fantastic they are. I think what really needs to happen is they need to get back to that. If they came out with a movie that was strictly practical stuff and tried it and put it out there, I guarantee that those diehard people, which is a lot because we all grew up in those times, would go to those movies and be like, holy shit, that was fantastic, right?
Well, I mean, and there's a reason why these movies are still loved today and watched today. I mean, you name any of these like horror movies that we love done solely with practical effects, and 9 times out of 10 they still hold up, unless it was like a shitty artist working on it or something. But like, they usually hold up, right?
Absolutely.
That cantina scene in A New Hope is still magical. It will always.
I know, and it's so funny because like I was watching an interview with Rick Baker, and he's like, "These are just masks I made that weren't even supposed to be in it. Like, they're masks. Yet because they're really there on set being filmed, it's real. You know what I mean?" So.
And it added to that whole thing. And then they did that whole CG, where they were trying to modify things. So I'm like, no. Go back, get rid of all that stuff. Save your original Star Wars VHS tapes.
Josh has those, I'm sure. Yeah.
I do too. I'm looking at them right now.
I believe so much in what you're saying that this 4K is destroying the horror industry. Watch your tapes on a shitty analog TV with a dial on it with a VHS.
Was that not
That's how horror is meant to be watched.
I'm telling you, when I got my first experience with, I won't go into too much detail there, Adam, but my first experience with a horror flick when I was in private school was Silver Bullet. And I'm telling you, boys, I'd never seen anything like that. And all I did was walk across the lawn next door to watch this thing, and it was about an hour into it, and I was calling my mom and dad to come get me. Walk across the lawn and I watched it the other day, and I'm telling you, oh my God, I feel a little embarrassed.
I got scared again.
I have the red light on. Can't see me turning color, right? Can't see me turning red.
Reliving the childhood.
Yeah.
I get like that with Michael Jackson's Thriller. That was the first in memory. I think I was 4 years old watching Thriller, and every year I get that same little, I'm still kind of scared of this.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. I mean, take other movies like Monster Squad and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. Look at all the practical effects, right? It just made for a fantastic film, right?
Yep.
The Explorers. Look at the aliens in Explorers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
The big green brother-sister aliens.
On the streams, but growing up, like, my parents were super into horror, especially my mom. So I can remember being like 5, 6 years old and watching like horror movies, and cover your eyes, something scary's coming. So I would. You're sneaking through, and you see a little bit, and you're like, oh shit. And there's always be one or two where she'd forget to tell you, and you just get the full-on truck right in the face of horror.
That's awesome.
That's great. But that's okay. Josh has bigger issues when it comes to his mother in horror, because she totally left him wronged for life. Scarred for life.
I wish I would have took that same kind of initiative with my kid.
Kid should.
I wish I would have done that.
I wanted to see Total Recall, something bad, something fierce, back in the day when that came out. And of course, my parents wouldn't let me go see it. I forget how old I was. It must have been like 14 or 13. And I remember it came out on VHS, and we were walking through the movie store. Of course, I'm still in private school out there in BC, and I see Total Recall sitting on the wall, one copy left. So I'm over bugging Mom, I gotta see this. She's like, all right, but we'll watch it when everyone else has gone to bed, and I'll explain what's really shitty to watch, and okay, right on. I can see Total Recall. Fuck yeah, right. Of course, at that point, all I remember is a 3-tittied woman. So.
It was horrific.
You didn't see that. What?
It's so funny too, because I remember my dad letting me watch RoboCop and letting me watch Predator, and having no problem with the violence whatsoever. Like RoboCop to a fucking 9-year-old back in the 87, that scene where Murphy gets all blown up and shit,
or when he shoots the guy in the dick.
all of that, right? But you get to Total Recall or any movie that had some nudity in it.
Yeah.
It's like, avert your eyes.
Cover your eyes for, nature.
For nature, yeah.
Just boobs.
It was more like what Josh said, right? It was like this for me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. All right, gentlemen, this has been a good conversation.
Oh my God, are we ending the podcast with that?
No, we're not going to end the podcast with that, because it's been a great conversation getting to know Aaron. And if anybody has any more questions, feel free to throw them in there. But we also have, we have a couple of things that we can talk about tonight too, like just kind of state of the horrorverse. And it'd be great to get Aaron's opinion on this too.
Let's go, fella. What do we got?
First and foremost, 7 years ago, Fede Alvarez released The Evil Dead. It's been 7 years, gentlemen. And he celebrated.
I remember sitting in theaters.
Yeah, and he celebrated this with a bunch of behind-the-scenes photos that you guys can check out on Bloody Disgusting and Dread Central and stuff, and some pretty fucking cool shit.
Shot in New Zealand.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had the pleasure of working with the fella that keyed that on Books of Blood. That was Patrick Baxter. He's in the book. In Stan Winston's book of guys that he really kind of leaned on. But Pat was actually working on Lord of the Rings at the time. And they got wind that he was over there and asked if he would kind of jump ship and work on some Evil Dead. So the scene where you see the tongue being sliced and all the applications of the different prosthetics in there, that was definitely him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Patrick is a cool fucking guy too.
Yeah. Definitely.
Cool fucking guy. Yeah. So 7 years ago, Fede Alvarez released that, and there's been, we've had Ash versus Evil Dead since then, but there's always the discussions now that they'll come back to something in the Evil Dead universe, but not necessarily Bruce Campbell, Ash, and we'll get something at one point.
They say that, but he said that before Ash versus Evil Dead, and we got Ash versus Evil Dead.
Bruce Campbell is the biggest.
Shut up,
troll.
Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, he lives to troll his fans.
He does. He absolutely does. Train to Busan 2, The Peninsula trailer was released.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
So, Aaron, you seen the trailer?
I did. I'm trying to figure out what that big mound of people walking is that comes out there. That looks creepy. Okay, there's not much. Like usually, I can watch something and be like, "Oh yeah, okay, that was cool." But when I saw that, I was like, "What is that?" So I can't wait to see what that's all about.
Kind of reminded me of. Have you guys seen the show on Netflix, The Kingdom?
No.
The king is that the? No, that's not the Viking.
No. So I got to put this on your guys' books if you haven't seen it. I haven't even seen the first full season yet, but I've been kind of watching like an episode a day, so to speak. It's basically Train to Busan, like the same look and feel and everything, but like in feudal Korea, like, you know, back with like the you know, in the dynasty days with kings and kingdoms and shit. And it's like this mystery, like almost like this murder mystery that takes place during an inevitable zombie apocalypse back in the day. It was weird, but like the effects are like, you know, the real critchy twitching zombies and everything else, and it's got some similarities to Train to Busan in terms of how the zombies act and stuff like this, but they got one really cool ass thing. Well, a couple things, but one of them is that they basically go to almost like sleep during the day. So like when the sun comes up, there's reprieve. Like these things like try to find like hiding from the sun, and they like fall asleep and shit.
Like
Adam, you look so intense explaining that right now.
Oh, but it's really cool. It's really cool. But like they actually, the one thing that reminded me in the Peninsula trailer of the Kingdom was that barrel of bodies that comes pouring out of the container that you're talking about, Aaron. There's a couple of scenes where they're all like huddled like that. And like, you know, they're creeping out when like the nighttime falls, and they're like creeping out of like from underneath like buildings and shit looking like that. It's creepy as hell.
Yeah, I dig that when it makes the hair stick up on the back of the neck a little bit. It's like yeah. and you know what? From the first, you know, Train to Busan, I remember my lady and I popping that in one night, just saying, "Oh, let's check this out." Jamie's like, "I don't want to read subtitles, blah blah blah, whatever." Right? I'm like, "No, this is going to be good. It's going to be good." And we both at the end of it just, whoa, what just happened? Yeah, that is fantastic, right? Even though they had, you know, kind of zombies that were moving pretty quick. You know, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't know about you guys, but if you're a zombie, body's dead. Like, come on.
But they didn't seem like. It's funny because I feel the exact same way. I'm more about the Romero kind of ghoul, zombies, but I loved them in this. Like normally I can't stand fast, but they were really good in it. Like it was, I don't know, it was creepy.
I did. I just want to clarify that was fantastic. I love the way that they moved in this, but it was kind of like a virus, you know, like 28 days later or whatever, where it's a virus. Okay, you can blame it on the virus while they're running.
Yeah. What will catch my interest, and I think that they might actually do this in Peninsula, but I haven't seen anything to prove this. I think that anything that's fresh will act in the same manner, but I'm not thinking that because slower. 4 years later, the older zombies are going to be like decaying and slow and crawling and shit. Like I think it's actually going to introduce us to a proper world mixture.
I hope so. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what zombie movie I watched. I was watching the extra features. It might have been the Dawn of the Dead remake, where someone was saying that the fast moving zombies are only fast because there's still blood in their body and their muscles, so they're still able to work normal.
Yeah.
But then you get the older zombies, and that's when you get like, you know, more the rigor mortis and slow and all that kind of shit. But I don't know.
Well, you think about it. If somebody gets, you know, you get turned, and you still have the warm blood flowing through your veins. Okay, but they don't explain anything like that.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, I get it. Everything's still okay for the time being, but a week later, you know, your things are going to start falling off and falling apart, right? And there's no way you're going to be running around.
No.
There's no way.
Well, when you think about it, the original Return of the Living Dead kind of had a mixture of both. So you had the ones that were fresh that were running, but then you had the ones that were crawling out of the graves that were slow.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
so got to give some respect to that movie. Gotta love that movie. So
You guys probably talked quite a bit. So,
Oh.
I mean to spend a lot of time or whatever.
we love that O'Bannon classic. That's crazy.
Yeah, George Romero. That's where it's at.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm super pumped for this movie. Super pumped. I said before we started, I was like, it's 4 years later, and like, you know, they're setting it up. It's got a very Land of the Dead, Mad Max kind of vibe, and then all of a sudden, he turns on the fucking flashlight, and like that glass stairwell filled with I was sold.
Sounds to me just like Adam fucks up.
Yeah,
Probably
Adam.
just me.
That's
Well, we're still recording, so we can actually just upload this afterwards.
Are we still
No,
live?
the live feed died.
No.
Like it
Oh, all right.
disconnected entirely due to low bandwidth or something. It said.
Dun, dun, dun.
Crazy.
Okay. What's the next topic, Adam?
Well, can't you just all of a sudden start a live feed again?
I can just start a live feed again, but then we're gonna have 2 videos for the same evening. So
Whatever, part 2.
Part 2, motherfuckers.
let's see if we can get it to.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you get to see the intermission here. Well, no one else can hear. This is behind the scenes,
Yeah, behind the
high
scenes,
quality
bro.
content.
Behind the scenes.
See what my lady bought me for my birthday a couple of years
Is that a
ago?
laser disc or no? That's just an album. That's the soundtrack.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember sneaking up at fucking
So Aaron,
3 o'clock in
you
the
know,
morning
You
watching.
guys
it.
just behind. Why didn't you watch it?
I watched.
Well, why didn't I watch it? Because well, he said Silver Bullet first, so I was like, okay, I'll watch Silver Bullet.
Because
And
it was never established, Josh, that we were doing 2 movies tonight.
Oh,
We could have, but it was never established.
that's
The
the,
I
next
remember-
movie was Silver Bullet.
I remember a lot about Fright Night. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I know. Like, I need to do a review.
refresh.
I need a Cole's notes.
Yeah. Luckily, I have a Bulls note.
Really, on Fright Night.
The notes that he took.
Right.
That's funny.
It all fell in all those movies that were kick-ass, like The Goonies, you know, Monster Squad. I mean, I think a Monster Squad was what, 85 or 87, and then Goonies was 87 or 85. I don't know, but it's right in that genre of, you know, the Lost Boys and all those really cool movies, right? That you look back at and you're like, man, I can watch that over and over again, right? Again, going back to the practical stuff, right?
That was actually I'm throwing it out there, and I see that we're live, so all our viewers are gonna. Yeah, I want to do an episode on Lost Boys. So we haven't done Lost Boys yet.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a favorite badass vampire flick. So
Yeah.
okay,
And it's got the Corey.
and it's got the Corys in it.
Yeah, of course.
Nice. Next topic, gentlemen. Well, now that we're going live again, so more rumors have surfaced involving Resident Evil 8. So, interestingly enough, this is a topic that's come up because obviously, I mean, we have a massive love for the Resident Evil series. Like, Part 7 is just amazing.
Oh my God! Best horror experience of my life in VR. Holy shit!
Yeah, Aaron will
And RE3 just dropped.
Aaron will attest to that as well. He, you have it in VR, don't you? You said that, right?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
What, Resident Evil
believe it?
7?
I know,
What?
I know, Josh, I know.
In a
Yeah.
VR experience, man. Resident Evil in a VR.
Holy
You're talking
shit!
about cleaning up shit at the house. You
Yeah,
play
like
this game on the toilet, my son. You're gonna be shitting your pants.
yeah, I was holding the controller.
Where do you
It's
see
like-
it in VR? Is it like just something that you can log?
PSVR. Yeah, you need the PSVR. Right?
Yeah, you
I got the
PSVR.
PSVR.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, then if you got Resident Evil 7,
Yeah.
it
has-
automatically comes. It's in it. Yeah. You
No
just play
way.
in VR. Yeah.
Oh, I know what I'm getting. Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon, and actually, you can just get it digitally if you want to. And it's actually,
Yeah.
I think we bought it for like $25 digitally.
It's
Well,
on
I'll get
sale right
that.
now, actually, because there's obviously a demand for Resident Evil games when a new one comes out.
Resident Evil game? Wow.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal.
So, but here's the thing about Resident Evil 8. Resident Evil 8 is apparently, the rumor is that it was actually supposed to be Resident Evil Revelations 3, but due to the popularity of Resident Evil 7, they actually tweaked the game, changed the characters, and they're basically just using the locations and some of the monsters and building a new world as a sequel to Part 7, which is going to actually include the character, the main character from the.
I was hoping you'd say it's going to have VR in it too.
The rumor will be is that it's going to be VR based. It's going to have a VR version, so it's going to be a first person version. So it will be just like Resident Evil 7 in the way that it will release like Resident Evil 7. But they're talking like snowy villages segments, werewolves, different creatures as well, instead of just like the standard zombies. So they're kind of looking at it as like almost like a mix of Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 7 to create like this new world.
The article I was reading said they have a bunch of like new formatting, like new abilities and controls and potential stuff like that. So it said something to the effect of changing up the genre as it stands, which I don't know how I feel about that. But RE4 did that and it was awesome. So
yeah,
we'll judge it when it comes out, I guess.
Judge it when it comes out.
Apparently, it sounds like you're judging it now.
When you break from the format of a super successful series, it's risky business. But
yeah, but I mean, Resident Evil 7 broke away and did its own thing, and it was amazing, and I'm glad they did it. Because it was getting stale. I'm sorry, Resident Evil 6 sucked balls.
A lot of those spin-off games aren't very fun either, and to hear this was based as a spin-off and then they adjusted it is a little worse.
Revelations 2 was actually pretty good. It was probably the best of all the spin-off games. So if they were producing 3 like they did Part 2 and changing it in this way, it should be pretty damn good. Yeah. Next topic. Robert Englund amasses a lot of fandom around the fact that he has released a fun public service announcement video called Wear Your Glove. This was hilarious. So we had all watched and I sent a link over to Aaron for him to check it out too. But this is cute. If you guys haven't seen this yet, I mean, anybody out there in internet land right now, Robert Englund did his bit for the COVID-19 coronavirus situation, telling people to be safe and, only go out as needed and to wear a glove. And he like pulls up like the actual like glove and he's like pretending to slit his own throat and shit. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I love Robert. Whenever he does that laugh, the Freddy laugh.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
It's right in the old cockles.
One of these days we'll get him on the show.
Old cockles.
One of these days he'll be on the show. All right. And finally, last thing that we'll talk about here for a minute. This is actually a little bit of a discussion, but I wanted to bring this one up because there was a couple of articles that have floated around like this, but this one I thought was actually really good. It was an article that Bloody Disgusting released. Due to the COVID virus, it was staying at home watching horror. 5 single location horror movies that you can stream this week that you should. Now, Josh, this is pinnacle for you because this kind of follows one of your main things that you love. That's right. Yep. So I thought we'll take a minute. We'll actually talk about these 5 movies. Just a brief. How does everybody feel about these movies for each one? Just as kind of.
Is Cabin in the Woods one of them?
I'm not going to say that yet. I'm going to go through the list first.
Because if it's not, this list is null and void and trash. But continue.
Adam's he's gonna add it.
So trying to look through this list. No comment. No comment. First movie, Canadian horror classic Cube, which is available on Tubi TV to actually stream right now. So, are you guys all familiar with Cube?
Yeah, I've seen it once.
I've seen it once too, a long time.
Pretty good. I mean, they had like 3 or 4 sequels: Cube, Cube 2, Hypercube, Cube Zero, all this kind of stuff. None of them really play as good as the first one, but I thought it was an interesting movie. I'd seen this one when it was like late night, came on the television one night, and it just kind of struck me, just the simple ambiance of the fact that every damn room that they were in looked identical, which kind of plays to what this article talks about, right? Simple single locations and stuff. So
Almost like a Saw movie, from what
yeah, it was all about a maze and a puzzle and how to get out and figuring out the numbers and on the doorways and stuff. So
What do they call number two?
hypercube.
Why wouldn't they call it cube squared?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I don't know. Fuck.
Cube
Cubed.
Cubed.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just trying to figure that out. That's where my brain goes. Sorry.
All right. Next one on the list, and this one is on streaming on Netflix right now. The Green Room. The classic movie with Patrick Stewart and
Is it
It's
classic, though? It only
it's
came out a couple
already
years ago.
classic, man. This movie is amazing. What is it? Imogen Poots.
Patrick Stewart looked the same anyway.
What was that?
Patrick Stewart looked the same anyway.
Yeah, he would. Doesn't matter if this movie.
For some reason, he just doesn't change. He just doesn't change. To me, anyway.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
it was great. So
Green Room was okay. I mean, I didn't hate it or anything, but
I don't know about this list, man. All right,
Yeah,
what
this
else
list-
we got?
all right, fine.
Yeah.
Next movie.
Next movie.
Night of the Living Dead, 1990. Tom Savini remake.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a movie that
great-
didn't need to be remade, but I'm glad they remade it.
That's
Yeah.
a great film.
Yeah, I liked it.
it,
Yeah.
it ve-
Go watch
Tom-
that.
it very much so had all the respect for George Romero's vision, and
Oh, that movie was absolutely made with love. It wasn't a cash grab. Let's remake Night of the Living Dead, and maybe it was through the studio, but Savini on board. That movie was made with love.
Had some heart
yeah,
and soul.
and I love
Yeah.
Patricia Tallman as
Yeah.
Barbara. She was absolutely fucking phenomenal, and she made the character even better than she was in the original, in my opinion.
Really, I give more of the credit to Tony Todd.
Well, Tony Todd, definitely incredible, man. I mean, it's all great. I mean, Tony Todd as Ben was just out of this world. Next movie, The Descent.
Yeah, I liked The Descent. It was weird, but I liked it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Weird, but
Okay.
I like how Aaron, his eyes are off.
Yeah,
Think about it.
Oh, he's
Just
darting
trying-
around all shifty
trying to-
like.
It's like,
visualize it.
shut up, Adam. Okay. Here's a little bit of a weird one. It's on Shudder right now. Shopping Mall.
Okay, that is actually an amazing B movie, garbage, trash film to watch.
Oh wow.
Is that the one that has the fucking the malls like high tech and
Yeah,
has
killer
robots?
robots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my fuck! I'm totally out in left field with this one. I gotta check.
It
It's
is
great.
great.
It's so it's really fucking cheesy.
The security guard
Yeah.
robots that turn
It's got
rogue.
Walter Paisley in it,
Yeah.
and it's got the guys from Eating Raoul. It's a good one.
Nice.
It's a classic. So that was the main list, but they had one bonus, and this is a actual personal favorite of mine from when it comes to the gore monster movies. Splinter. This is a very not well-known movie. It has to do with some sort of like a creature that's got like all these spines on it, and yeah, well,
Splinters.
yeah, it's kind of, I guess, the look of it, I guess. But when it basically it infects you, and you start to like necrosis starts to kick in, and your body falls apart and shit like this. And there's like this guy who loses part of his hand, and it like starts growing these little spines and splinters out of it and shit. And it all takes place in like this one like gas station overnight. And it's got an immense amount of practical effects in this movie. If you guys have never seen it, it's on some sort of a streaming service called Hoopla, which is like offered by like local participating libraries. But if you haven't seen Splinter, you got to check out Splinter. This is like a very amazing low budget horror flick, monster flick.
I don't know why Mimic came to mind when you were talking about that, but yeah.
Yep.
Didn't Mimic have a creature that had spines and everything
Mimic?
all on it?
Mimic?
Yeah.
It was like an
Yeah.
overgrown cockroach type of creature.
Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Totally not what I was thinking. But whatever.
Nice.
So this list really doesn't have Cabin in
It
the
doesn't.
Woods on
I think that they were going Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
What was the okay? What's the title of the list?
Stay home,
Yeah, that's
watch
weird.
horror. 5 single location horror movies to stream this week.
Why wouldn't
Posted
they?
it.
I mean, Cabin in
Yeah.
the Woods. Cabin
Silly
in the
goose.
Woods had more locations when they got into the underground, and you know,
Somebody in Facebook posted it.
well, it was an editorial on Bloody
Why wouldn't
Disgusting.
it
So
like?
you know.
I'm thinking like, why wouldn't they have like fucking like Evil Dead or?
Right.
Yeah.
We can make our own better list.
No, it's all right.
That's effort. Josh doesn't want to do that. That's work.
Evil Dead would be the epitome of that whole thing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really would be.
Chopping Mall, though, I'm glad that got some love. Chopping Mall, that's a silly one that doesn't get enough love. So
It's a silly one that doesn't get enough love.
A silly one that doesn't get enough love.
I mean, that's cheap and corny, almost like Night of the Comet.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
definitely.
like it's almost in the same vein.
We have to come up with a list of what we think that list should be. Shopping mall, Josh.
Yeah.
And Tim, what do you?
Evil Dead. Evil Dead. Or,
Yeah.
Or Evil Dead 2. Any of the Evil Deads.
Just
what
the
else
Evil
is that?
Dead.
Evil
Would-
Dead.
Would Blair Witch classify under that? I mean, they do go into the woods. It's in the
Yeah,
woods.
it's just a
One
single
Single
location.
location, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it very rarely changes. It's just woods. You know, it's not like it was anything spectacular around them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Waiting on you, Adam.
No,
Waiting
the
on you,
pressure! I can't do it!
We're all looking at you. Adam's just fucking off somewhere else.
Even the Friday films all take place at Camp Crystal Lake for the most part.
Even Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
I'm just gonna go with Mash.
Match.
MASH.
Mash. 4077.
Gotta love the swamp.
That all happened in one location, right?
Bonanza.
Bonanza.
Yeah.
You guys are out of it. That's it. Done.
Sorry.
Done with you guys. Done with you guys. Open conversation. Anything you guys want to talk about in the horror verse this week that you have heard about that we have not discussed yet tonight?
I heard Adam's a wiener.
Hey, I heard that too.
Saw that trending on Twitter.
All right, and with that, everybody, thank you for tuning in. My name's Adam.
No.
I'm a wiener.
Adam the wiener.
No, that's just a
No.
winner.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really do hope that everybody checked out our last episode, though. We got a new episode coming out this week that you guys should enjoy, and it's got some surprises in it. Josh's opinion is a surprise. Let's put it that way. So.
Oh, that fucking opinion.
Yeah, that fucking opinion.
I almost quit the show.
Right? Me too.
Wow.
Josh too.
Me too.
That's right. Looking for another Josh. That's.
Did you guys see that? It's not really horror related, but it's still kind of a cool show. I've only watched like 3
Tiger King
episodes
is
of.
crazy, right?
Oh fuck.
No, I'm over Tiger King. It's everywhere now. It's everywhere. I'm literally looking at, as soon as I look up on Facebook, there's a meme of fucking him, like right there on my screen. I wish I could turn the camera. But Tales from the Loop.
Oh, that's on Prime, Amazon Prime, based on that guy's art.
Yeah, well, I was obsessed with that guy's art. Show him some respect.
Well, what's his name then, Tim?
I can't pronounce it. It's Swedish.
Swedish.
But anyways, his art's really cool. He does this whole kind of like 80s with kids, but there's like robots in fields and like it's you have to see it. It's hard to explain, but they basically made like this like TV show, this anthology series based on his artwork, and like there's like key moments in episodes that are legit mirroring his paintings, and that's kind of what I've been watching. But it's not really horror. It's more sci-fi. But it reminds me a lot of like Stranger Things, but dare I say better?
Wow.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Stranger Things for what it is just basically a nostalgia trip. Right?
Sure.
I grew up in that time, so I remember all the things. Hey, I remember that. Hey, I remember that. But like this is, I don't know, like there's a narrative to it. There's not any 80s references, and if they are, they're just there. Like, it's not like they're trying to, beat you over the head with it, right? It's a cool show. I recommend it.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I got it on my watch list. Like, one like.
Is that a fucking yawn?
No, man, maybe.
Am I boring?
Yeah, you're fucking boring me, Tim.
Bitch.
Yeah, no, I got it in my watch list. It's one of those things, like, I seen the trailer for it. I was like, it kind of looks like a mix between, like, Channel Zero, Stranger Things, and fucking Black Mirror.
Yeah, it's definitely got Black Mirror vibes. Like, each episode that I've watched so far has absolutely felt like Black Mirror. But
Nice.
not with, like, Black Mirror's main crutch is, the
Tech.
downfalls of technology, right? Whereas this, it's not like that. But I don't know. There's always some kind of, like, twist to the story, so it's good. I recommend it.
Tales from
Neat.
the Loop.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
with that, we're going to close it up for the night, guys, for the live episode. So I wanted to take a moment. Thank Aaron Peerless for joining us on the show tonight, everybody. Woo!
Yeah, thank
And
you.
we will be more than happy to have him on for a review episode in the near future. So we'll
We would have did tonight, but we all watched the wrong movies. Just saying for
I was just about to say we'll get our
all
shit
watched
together
the wrong
first.
movies.
So we got a couple of good review episodes coming up that Aaron will definitely help us out, and hopefully Miss Jamie Peerless will join us at one point too and talk about this, because she was not available tonight, unfortunately, but we send our love to her, and we look forward to having her on the show with Aaron in the future. So until next time, thanks everybody for tuning in, and don't forget, check us out on Facebook, like and share the pages and the live streams when we do them. Check us out on YouTube, like, subscribe to the channel, share everything out. And did you know that we're on Patreon, by the way? And you can always open up your hearts and your wallet. And check us out on all of the major podcasting platforms that we produce the show for: Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. And until next time, Tim,
Stay spooky and wash your hands.
Josh,
Have a good night.
So
what
plain.
the fuck?
What happened, Josh?
I don't know. Aaron. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Until next time, cheers. Good night.
Good night.